There's also the other part, which is like the third perspective and angle around this whole social enterprise thing, which is the fact that NGOs and the continuous giving in such a manner as the NGOs fully do actually creates something called, actually builds or breeds a sense of entitlement around the people they give to. So it's no longer about the value you are even giving. It's no longer about, for instance, the training for the birth attendants. It's now about, okay, why are you giving us 2,000 naira as transport fare? When WHO did their own, they gave us 500 naira. That's what this is about now. Okay, so we saw the food that you gave us for lunch. It's a small piece of meat. We want a quarter chicken. I mean, those are the things that just giving without trying to place a value on what you give. Those are the things that it causes. And that's why we as an organization start shifting from Brown Button Foundation and trying to build some kind of sustainable model around it. A sustainable model around it, you have to look at the pressing problem in that space where you are operating. We found that one of the most pressing problems for many women is actually accessing affordable sterile supplies for childbirth. And that's when we started Mother's Delivery Kit. And when we moved the Mother's Delivery Kit for some years, and we celebrated 500,000 births with the support of our kids and things like that, we realized that, okay, all these 500,000 births that we are celebrating today, in 5 years' time, actually, about a half of them will be dead. And malnutrition is actually going to kill them. So if malnutrition is going to kill them, that means that we can actually walk around that space and build another sustainable model around solving the malnutrition debacle. And that's where it led us to Colorful Gables Nutrition. I mean, so it's a continuous process of trying to deliver value in exchange for something not commensurate. Not commensurate. It's not commensurate to what they get. And so if you would buy your regular food, maybe your regular Jaiyeoba from the US, you would spend $3, $4 on that. Talk about the exchange rate now that has gone up. Talk about the lockdown that has led to the closure of international flights and all the shipping companies that brings in. Those things are like triple the cost at the moment. And so you would spend about $1, less than $2 actually, to buy a pack of cereal from us. And that pack of cereal will contain up to 16 vitamins and nutrients and all those things that we are actually trying to solve. It may not be commensurate because it's a social enterprise. All the profit goes back to the communities we are helping, goes back to the business, goes back to expanding. To expand in terms of reaching more communities, reaching more people, and even expand infrastructure to support the people who work in the facility. I mean, so these are things that people need to start thinking about, especially when they want to run social enterprises. The value chain for social enterprises is not just one. Right. It's not built around the single problem you are solving. And I can give you an instance. So if I look at Colorful Gables now, the value chain for Colorful Gables is not built around just solving malnutrition. And so in solving malnutrition, what are we doing? We are employing more women. That's right. To work in the facility. They are getting paid. And so these women are now getting some kind of economic independence. Yes. Because now they can work, they can earn, they can support their family, they can send themselves to school, they can send their children to school, they can feed their children. You know, so in the long run, the value that you build around one social enterprise is more than the central problem that you are actually focusing on. I do not see a reason why anyone should actually feel guilty that, you know, they are running a social enterprise and, you know, they are making money for it. The money they make from it is not actually for them. Social entrepreneurs are they are one of the poorest set of businessmen and women that you can meet, and I'm not even kidding. Because when you make money, you don't think about, okay, so let me buy pizza, let me buy, I mean, you are constantly thinking about how to plow it back, how to reach more communities, how to solve more problems. That's just basically all you are thinking about.
Oh, wow. I hear you so clearly. And a number of things already really jumped out to me. You've talked about the fact that there is such a thing as donor fatigue. And if you are stuck on the full non-profit model, you might find that the people you keep going back to, whether family and friends or local donors, international partners, whatever, at some point begin to back off and say, even I need some support if you're able to provide it. So you talked about donor fatigue. You've talked about the fact that people place greater value on what they make a measure of contribution to. You've talked about how the full NGO model creates entitlement, and I know this one so well, how the beneficiaries, I mean, we have people who call us when we used to make development dialogue conferences free. We'd have people who call us and say, will there be accommodation and ground travel, sponsorship? I'll be like, huh? Are you even joking? You know, so yeah, and then you'd have people who say, you know, that the lunch wasn't weighty enough, that it was just like snacks, and they would have loved proper lunch. They'll put it in the feedback, and you were there for free. I'll just be like, are you kidding? So that entitlement is so real. And then I feel like you've moved on also into very germane insights where you're talking about determining what is the value that you'd love to provide, and then building a sustainable model around it. And knowing that if you're truly here for the work, you don't ever have to feel guilty about what you're earning, because you're putting it back again into the business, into the community.
Absolutely.
I also love what you said, Pedro, and that's where maybe I'm going to take on my next question, where you've said it's in digging around the problem that you even start to see underlying issues beyond the immediate solutions you're providing, and that can lead you on to other solutions that you can provide for those other issues. What is this process like? The process that helps you truly determine what the problem is and what kind of value you are able to provide around it. How data oriented is it? And how long does it take you to begin to observe patterns in the communities that you work with to know what the real issues are?
So the thing is that problems are usually not hidden. In delivering a particular solution, you would continue. I think that the number one rule is to keep an open mind. It's the same rule that applies when you hear, you know, the fact that you have read something in school does not mean that you should do that thing. What it means is that keep an open mind. Do not let your degree put you in a box.
Yes.
Keep an open mind. Yes. So the fact that you are delivering value on something and that thing is going on so well does not mean that you should think that, okay, so this is your better, you have come to your resting place. No, you have to keep an open mind. And so in keeping an open mind, you would begin to notice some other things around. There's always causation, and causation is like a chain of events. One thing will cause one thing, and then it will cause another thing, and when you solve it, you will find another thing. Problems are like continuous. I think that in trying to keep an open mind, you also need to recognize that you cannot solve all the world's problems. You can't. You have to pick your battle. And then when you pick your battle, you know, you face it. But when you find that you have been able to reach an appreciable level with what you are doing, personally, I like moving, so I have to move. I have to just move and find. I like things that challenge me. And so if I find myself at rest with a particular thing and everything, I'm going to be moving to something else. And so when you have that kind of mindset, there's no way, you are constantly on the lookout for more problems. And these things are around. People say it every time. You hear it, you see it, you feel it. It's about how your mind interprets everything that you hear, that you feel, that you see. I do think that there is a set way to teach how to recognize problems. But if I would say anything about recognizing problems, it would be that understanding, first of all, everybody knows what the problem is.
Yes.
Everybody knows what the problem is. If the roads are bad, the roads are bad. It's obvious for everybody to see. If there's no light, there's no light. Even if you put on candle, it's not equal to NEPA light. If there's no light, there's no light. I mean, so we all know what the problems and challenges are. We all know about malnutrition. We all know about maternal death. We all know about, you know, climate change. We all know all the problems. Even if you don't know what the problems are, just go and sit down with the SDG goals and just read the SDG goals.
So
You will
good.
see all the problems. The SDG goals are basically providing guidance towards solving
The world's
different problems.
problems, yes.
So if you don't know, if you don't even have any problems, you don't have any problem in this world, and you don't even know what to solve, carry SDG manual and read the SDG, and you will identify so many. You will be tired of problems in this life.
So good, so good. But
And
what
so
I would
when
love to
yes,
know, Peju, is let's say I see the problem because of the work I do. How do
yes,
I determine a solution that truly matches that problem or attacks it or attempts to solve it in a sustainable manner? And how do I build an enterprise around it? Because there could have been
that's big.
exactly.
That's big. So many things to consider. So many things to consider, Debola, when you are doing that. So I would say that first thing, when you identify a problem, look at the solutions in the space because there's new problem. There are solutions already in that space. So
Yes.
sit down and look at the solution. Look at every solution that you have heard of in that space. Look through those solutions. When you look through those solutions, there will always be something. There
Mm.
would always be an untapped market. There
Wow.
would always be a category of people left behind. There would always be a reason why something is not working.
Mm.
There would always be something that is not fully tapped or tapped at all within that space. And so when you look at the solutions that exist, it could be in terms of maybe a left behind market. So you have to determine which particular market is left behind. Is it the people at the bottom of the pyramid? Is it the people at the top of the pyramid? Is it the people at the middle of the pyramid? You have to first of all decide. And in deciding that, you begin to streamline your target audience. Who are your targets? Where are they typically located? Their geography is everything. And when you begin to do that, you will now dive down further. If you have identified them, for instance, at the bottom of the pyramid people, what's their earning capacity? What's their earning power? That tells you that any solution that you are going to develop or design for them must be something they can afford. Now, you have built a solution, they are able to afford it in your own estimation,
Right.
maybe under $1 or something, and able to afford that solution. You know, something they can use.
Mm.
Affordability is different from ability to use.
Utility. Mm.
I can bring something to you that is affordable, but these people are not skilled enough to use it, are
Wow.
not educated enough to use it. And so you come down to usage. So it's a whole process of trying to break down different systems to reach a solution that conclusively takes care of the market that
Wow.
you want to serve.
I hear you so clearly. So one of the big things that I already hear from listening to you answer this question is that the moment I begin to see a problem that I want to go for, whether it's based on passion, expertise, experience, being in that space, I start to dig around it and say,
Yeah.
where are the existing gaps? What is the market that is untapped? What is the segment that is left behind? What is the innovation
So
that
you need to check, yes, you need to check. First thing you need to look at is actually your competitors. What are they doing?
what are
What
they
are they doing well? What are they doing not so well? What
doing?
are they not even doing at all?
All so good. I love it. So I want to ride on that, Peju. And my question now is obviously, if I want to take a go at a problem, I want to build a sustainable solution around it through which I give a value for which I can receive value, even if it's not commensurate. And you've talked about affordability, you've talked about utility. It means that there's got to be a go-to-market strategy. It means that I need to approach it from, market access point of view. What does that look like? How do I penetrate the market? How do I, what should my sales and marketing strategy look like? Even though I've got a social impact outcome in mind, how do I go to market? How am I supposed to be positioned? What kind of collaborations should I seek? And since you've said to me it's not value for value, how do I cover for the remaining value that is not delivered commensurate to the solution I want to provide?
So the difference between social entrepreneurs and regular businessmen is that we don't want a killer profit. Many times you find that all the things that are delivered, all the things you buy, if a social entrepreneur does it, the price is going to be reduced because he or she is not looking for a killer profit. So if I make a pen and I say this pen is 10 naira, if a social entrepreneur makes it and it's a pen, so remember the social entrepreneur is not going to be putting excessive profit over it.
Okay, now.
That entrepreneur simply wants to cover basic costs, pay staff, and expand.
So good.